Hello and welcome. Another day of mourning as two more students abducted from Greenfield University, Kaduna, are killed by their abductors 2 days after 3 others were found dead near the institution. At least 3 students of the Federal University of Agriculture in Benue State kidnapped by gunmen. One more attack on a police station leaves 5 personnel dead, another officer missing in Okigwe South local government area of Imo State. And the European Union launches legal action against AstraZeneca for allegedly breaching their COVID-19 vaccine supply contract. Company vows to defend itself in court. Plus we'll have business, sports, news from Abuja, and later on international news from our London studios.
On business news tonight, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission sets July 2021 for minor reviews of the multi-year tariff order for 2020 in line with economic reality.
Of insecurity still lead the pack tonight as the country is thrown into mourning again after the bodies of 2 more students abducted from the Greenfield University in Kaduna State are found in the forest. Gunmen continue their unending attacks on police and military formations in Imo State, even as residents of Anambra live in panic. And the situation up north is not different. 3 students of the Federal University of Agriculture in Benue State were abducted, while over 3,000 residents of Niger State have also been displaced by Boko Haram bandits. But tonight we start off from Kaduna, where sadly 2 more students abducted from the Greenfield University in Chikun local government area have been killed by their abductors and their bodies recovered from the forest, bringing the death toll from that abduction to 5. This is coming 3 days after the bodies of 3 of the abducted students were found by security operatives at a community near the university along the Kaduna-Abuja highway. 18 students are still in the custody of the abductors. The State Commissioner for Internal Security and Home Affairs, Samuel Arwan, says the bodies of the abducted students were recovered by the security operatives, while the university has been notified of the development. The students were abducted last week Tuesday by bandits from the private university in Chikun local government area of the state. And the state government is showing some concern as a delegation from the state government today paid a visit to the families of the 3 abducted students killed by bandits 2 days ago. The delegation, led by the Kaduna Government Commissioner of Education, Shehu Mohammed, visited the families of students in Jaji, Baranawa and Sabuntacha areas in Igabi and Chikun local government areas. The commissioner also announced that the government has commenced the process of beefing up security around the schools and relocating students from vulnerable areas.
It is a solemn moment for the families of the 3 students of Greenfield University who were killed by their abductors in Chikun local government area of Kaduna State. They were abducted along with some of their colleagues right inside the school last Tuesday. The dead bodies were discovered by security officials on Friday. The representatives of the Kaduna State government, led by the Commissioner for Education, are visiting the grieving parents to commiserate with them over the loss of their loved ones. Their first point of call is the residence of the proprietor of Greenfield University in Sabuntasha area. Incidentally, he is also uncle of one of the slain students.
I particularly felt pain because Precious is in the list of those they killed. Grew up with me. I took her through Imperial School. After as I was finishing from Imperial School, this university thing came up. I said, continue.
Mm.
2 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 3 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 4 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 5 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 6 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 7 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 8 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 9 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 10 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 11 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 12 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 13 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 14 is a daughter of my immediate senior brother. 15 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 16 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 17 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 18 is a daughter of my immediate junior brother. 19 is a daughter of my immediate And he has been living with us. He has been living with us, so you can imagine the shock.
The government delegation also visited parents of the two students in Jaji and Banawa areas, still grieving over the death of their children. Yohana Bulus and Yusuf Usman appealed to the government to ensure that the remaining students are rescued safely.
I am a Christian, and the word of God says that in all things we should give God thanks.
For the Kaduna State government, plans were being made to secure schools and students from further attacks.
We want to use this opportunity to appeal to anybody who is hurt, who felt is aggrieved. There are due processes that one should follow to seek redress.
The three slain students of Greenfield University were 300 level undergraduates in accounting, international relations, and cybersecurity.
To Benue in the north central, where 3 students of the Federal University of Agriculture were abducted from their campus at gunpoint today. The incident happened on Sunday night, and police authorities say they've launched a full-scale investigation into the case.
This is the College of Engineering at the Federal University of Agriculture, Makurdi in Benue State. Activities here are on the downside following the abduction of 4 students of the college last Saturday night. This abandoned vehicle with registration number Kogi 254 KPA is said to belong to one of the kidnapped victims, who was forcefully taken away with 3 others when the gunmen stormed the campus, and it has remained there since then. Tried as we did, we could not get some of the students to comment on the matter, but this eyewitness gives an insight into how the incident played out.
We discovered a car was parked outside. The car was actually empty. So we realized they took 2 students from the car and other students which followed them, and they came and passed through the bush. But there was a guy that they drove him back because he was wearing a white shirt. They said the white shirt can identify them easily because there were kind of luminosity from the moon as of that time. So when we came out, there was also a girl that she managed to escape, that she came back. Although she was shivering, she was not able to talk very well, but she said they came, they took them. So they were able to go with about 3 to 4, 5 persons thereabout, but we cannot say specifically. But one of the students is from engineering and is a well-known person.
At the other facilities and departments, students are going about their normal academic activities, aware that their kidnapped colleagues may be in harm's way. But the university management says it hopes that they will be rescued unharmed.
What the university did was to report to the police, and the police say they are investigating and they are hopeful to get results. So far, the abductors have not gotten to us, that's to demand for a ransom or anything, and the students themselves have not called, so we don't know their whereabouts, we don't know who abducted them.
For police authorities in Benue State, the issue is no longer about the abduction of the students, but how to rescue them unharmed.
My advice is that the members of the public remain calm, that we are doing our best to make sure that we get to the root of this and apprehend perpetrators of this crime.
With about 3 tertiary institutions attacked in recent times, concerned parties believe that the relaunched Safe Schools initiative of the federal government be expanded to cover universities and other tertiary institutions to ensure that incidents like these are brought to a halt.
And there are more security issues in more states. Niger State in North Central has also come under attack, and over 3,000 residents of Muya and Shiroro local government areas have been displaced. Most of the residents are now seeking shelter at a makeshift camp provided by the state government. Governor Abubakar Bello has visited them, and he says Boko Haram insurgents have already taken over Kaure community, where he says they've hoisted their flag.
We had over 3,000 people here from communities that have been displaced by bandits and Boko Haram elements around Munya and Shiro local governments. However, some of them have started going back to their various homes, and there are some other communities that we think are safe, they can go back. But the vast majority of them will have to remain here because their villages, their towns have been taken over by bandits and Boko Haram elements. Their wives have been seized from them. Their wives have been forcefully attached to Boko Haram members elements. In fact, I just heard they've already placed their flag in Kauri, so which means they've taken over the territory. And this is what I've been engaging the federal government with. And unfortunately, it has now gotten to this stage that if care is not taken, nobody, not even Abuja, is safe. We have been saying this for long. We've been saying this, and all efforts have been in vain. So I hope with this, with the outcome of these banditry activities and terrorist activities, I hope the time has come now to see reasons for a very coordinated military action to take place so that we displace. The Boko Haram elements are trying to use these areas as their home, just like they did in Sambisa.
The military is also recording casualties in the battle to secure the country, as the Nigerian army says one of its officers and 6 soldiers were killed in a counter-insurgency operation in Maniok community in Benue State. 5 other soldiers were also injured in the attack, which happened on Sunday afternoon, and they've been evacuated to the military medical facility for treatment. Although the army did not specifically explain how the security operatives died, there are reports that the soldiers may have been killed during airstrikes by the Air Force. There were reports that the Air Force bomber accidentally hit the wrong coordinates while targeting Boko Haram insurgents who had attacked the troops, but Air Force authorities say they're still investigating the airstrike. The Army's Director of Public Relations, Brigadier General Mohammed Yerima, explains that the insurgents attacked the soldiers using gun trucks as they made attempts to establish a caliphate in Mainok town. He explains that the soldiers lured a number of the terrorists into a killing zone within their camp, where Alpha jets and helicopter gunboats launched attacks on them. Similar attacks were also carried out in River State today, where the gunmen opened fire on a soldier at their camp in Abuja local government area of the state. It's the second attack on security formations in River State in 2 days. On Saturday night, the gunmen killed an unspecified number of policemen and 3 customs officers at their patrol base in Ishopo, the headquarters of Ikwere local government, along the Port Harcourt-Owerri Road. Heads of security agencies in the state are yet to release an official statement on the situation, but they held a meeting behind closed doors today at the headquarters of the River State Police Command. And the string of attacks on police stations in Imo State continued today, with the gunmen launching yet another deadly onslaught on the Okigwe South Police Divisional Area Command, where they killed 5 police officers, with 1 policeman said to be missing. Imo State has been in the spotlight in recent weeks, following attacks on the State Police Command and the correctional facility in Owerri, the state capital. Only a few days ago, the country home of the state governor, Hope Uzodimma, was burnt by the gunmen, who also killed 3 security operatives. And over in neighboring Anambra, no fewer than 9 people were killed today when hoodlums invaded Umachi community in Oyi local government area of the state. The state police authorities say several other persons were injured in the attack, while a property and livestock were also destroyed. Normalcy has since returned to the area, while the state government has imposed a 7 p.m. to 6 a.m. curfew on the affected communities. Now let's go on a little bit of a break, and when we come back in part 2 after the break, we'll take a look at the fact that many Nigerians, just like the legislative arm, are also showing concern over insecurity. That's in a moment. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, coming to you live from Lagos. A reminder of our top stories. Another day of mourning as 2 more students abducted from Greenfield University, Kaduna, are killed by their abductors 2 days after 3 others were found dead near the institution. At least 3 students of the Federal University of Agriculture in Benue State kidnapped by gunmen. 1 more attack on the police station leaves 5 personnel dead, another officer missing in Okigwe South local government area of Imo State. And the European Union launches legal action against AstraZeneca for allegedly breaching their COVID-19 vaccine supply contract. Company vows to defend itself in court. Just like many Nigerians, the legislative arm of government is showing concern over the state of insecurity in the country. And that's why the Speaker of the House of Representatives, Honorable Femi Gbajabiamila, met with the President today behind closed doors. At the end of the meeting, Honorable Gbajabiamila told State House correspondents that President Muhammadu Buhari is dealing with a very difficult situation, and he gave an assurance that something is in the works and that the legislature would do everything to assist the president reach a consensus on the security challenge.
We'll speak about the security situation, we'll speak about the economy, we'll speak about the politics of it all, and we have always, at least, he has a listening ear, and we profile ideas. You know, he tells us his own views, and we come to some consensus one way or the other. You're aware that the House of Representatives some time ago passed a resolution. We set up an ad hoc committee, a special ad hoc committee, which involves all principal officers and 30 other members of the House, and we're going to start that process into looking at different solutions, and we'll be bringing the report to Mr. President. He's fully aware of it, and he's open to anything and everything, and that will help us in coming to a resolution in this matter.
The president of the African Development Bank, Dr. Akinwumi Adesina, believes Africa is on the path to recovery from the COVID-19 pandemic as he projects the continent's economy to grow by 3.4% this year. At the virtual high-level European Union Africa Green Investment Forum, Dr. Adesina adds that the recovery will cut across the board on the continent. He insists that the future looks better and calls for increased investment in the opportunities Africa has to offer on the path to recovery.
The African Continental Free Trade Area is now the single largest free trade zone in the world. And now with a population that will reach 2.4 billion people by 2050, Africa is a huge market offering incredible opportunities. Now, if you're not invested in Africa, you are simply missing out. In a COVID-19 era, we obviously have challenges. The pandemic has thrown spanners in the wheels of economic growth and investments around the world. And Africa is no exception. Africa witnessed its lowest GDP growth in 5 decades due to this pandemic. But the future looks much better, even if challenging. Growth is projected to recover from minus 2.1% in 2020 to 3.4% this year. The recovery will be across the board for oil-dependent countries, commodities-dependent countries, tourism-dependent economies, and non-commodity-dependent economies. And the recovery must take advantage of new business opportunities brought about by the COVID-19 pandemic, especially in the digital economy and the new business normal offered through ICT platforms.
The Center for Values in Leadership, a non-profit organization, continues to steer conversations on how Nigeria can make the best of its resources to build a strong manufacturing sector. In this new series, key issues around value chains, infrastructure, political will and industrial policy are thrown up, all to see manufacturing companies up and running. Our correspondent Dare Du reports.
Manufacturing, mining, utilities and other subsects of industrialization in Nigeria account for a tiny proportion of the nation's economic activity.
The various parts
and this virtual conference, moderated by Professor Patutome, is pushing a robust conversation on how Nigeria can build thriving industries.
We have across the country, from every part of the country, some leaders who will shed light on thinking and thought about how that can happen. Bear in mind, particularly, current situation in our country, where unemployment is at 33%.
Nigerians and foreign nationals who have done extensive research on the nation's economy are leading the discussion. Professor Paul Collier, the distinguished Oxford University economist, says oil boom killed the nascent development in the Nigerian's manufacturing sector.
Oil poured money into central government, and it so created Dutch disease is an economic phenomenon, I think. But what the oil pouring into the center created was a political phenomenon, which I think covers the resource curse. And the resource curse led to big, grandiose government projects, which inevitably then became the subject of a massive frenzy of patronage.
Dr. Kande Young-Keller, a Sierra Leonean agriculture economist, says industrialization is not by accident, but a deliberate, sustained economic action expected to be pursued to the end.
Paul mentioned that in the China case, it was not a quick fix, it was 40 years of experimentation. 40 years of experimentation. They tried it, they learned from the good, from the success and the failure, but they kept at it continuously. In the case of Nigeria, we lack that consistency.
The panelists prove further the nation goes back to the basics and leverage on the nation's comparative advantage. They are also wary of the issues around governance and policy.
A lot of our present-day politicians are so short-term. Tell them to come and plant cocoa, they will prefer cassava or corn because they will harvest it in their tenure. They will tell you, oh, if I plant cocoa, my successor will be the one to harvest it.
If the leadership are not on the table to hear such ideas that are being, proposed by Kande and the other speakers, and understanding the challenges that not just the country but the states face, how are they going to change? So in other words, we are just dialoguing among ourselves and they will continue.
Center for Values in Leadership Talk Fest, the 5th edition on manufacturing, brings up the key conversation on the path to post-oil Nigeria and how the country can generate employment and solution to upturn the negative trend. Dari Idu, Channels Television News.
The role of women in nation building and development has again come to the fore, this time at a global gathering of women in ministry. The convener of the Feast of Esther program, Pastor Folu Adeboye, challenged women to be alive to their responsibilities to lift up the nation through their ministry. Other speakers at the three-day event included the General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God and the presiding Bishop of the Living Faith Church, who also focused on the important roles women are expected to play in nation building.
It's all joy and celebration at the opening ceremony of the 20th anniversary of the gathering of women who are general overseers, all heads of ministries, wives of general overseers and women leaders of ministries, called the Feast of Esther. The visioner, Mrs. Folu Adeboye, welcomes all to the annual forum with a charge that there is a need for participants to identify purpose of their call to the ministry and make full potential of such existence.
It is God's compassion that brought together female spiritual leaders who otherwise would have been lonely on their journeys, without a formal access to like-minded women who share their pains, vulnerability, travails, and triumphs, whom we can now fellowship with.
Guest speakers at the Global Forum speak on the gifts and capabilities of women, which can only be unbundled through engagement of like minds.
No matter how an expert your coach is, you can't use his leg to run. He will teach you how to run and leave you to use your leg to run. So you can have the same coach and have different levels of result forever. Because a great coach does not make a star. It's the dedication, the discipline of a sportsman that determines who becomes a star.
The General Overseer of the Redeemed Christian Church of God, Pastor Enoch Adeboye, encourages participants to change their old style of worship.
When we say something is waterproof, we are saying there's no way water can penetrate. That's what we mean by waterproof. So when we talk about foolproof, we are saying your service to your master must be without blemish, without spot, without wrinkle. 100% perfect. So making foolproof of your ministry therefore means serving your master until he's 100% satisfied.
This year's forum further encourages interaction for the purpose of fellowship, prayer, renewal, growth and development of the ministers.
When the news at 10 returns, we'll have more stories from our Abuja studio. Plus, Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission sets July 2021 for minor reviews of the multi-year tariff order for 2020. And that will be on business. Do join us again. Welcome back to the news at 10. Let's cross over to Abuja now. Here's Gloria Umezuki. Gloria.
Hello, Joma. Welcome to Abuja. The Presidential Steering Committee on COVID-19 is warning citizens against complacency, saying it is not time to lower guards as developments in India, Turkey and Brazil shows that a third wave of the virus is possible if all safety measures are not reactivated. The committee also asked Nigerians to limit travel to high-burden countries, including India and Brazil, even though it is not yet to reach a conclusion on whether or not to issue a travel ban on these countries. Meanwhile, the Secretary to the Government of the Federation says vaccine hesitancy poses a major challenge to the country's response to the virus. The Joint Admissions and Matriculations Board, JAMB, says it will ensure a refund of registration fees of candidates who could not generate their profile code because of poor network or delayed response from telecommunications service providers for the 2021 Unified Tertiary Matriculation Examination UTME. The Registrar of JAMB, Professor Ishaku Loede, however, clarified that candidates who entered the wrong code while trying to generate their profile codes would not be refunded. Professor Loede made the comment in Abuja after a meeting with stakeholders, noting that the service providers and JAMB have agreed on the refund. Eliminating malaria continues to be top priority for African countries, especially Nigeria, with perhaps the largest ratio of deaths on the continent. To this end, Reckitt, a leading consumer goods company, is partnering with the Ogun State Ministry of Health to lead the charge against the parasite that causes the disease. The marketing director, Tanzim Rezwan, says the company's objective is to ensure a cleaner and healthier world, with Motain as a leading global insecticide brand.
There were 229 million malaria cases reported globally, with Africa bearing 90% of the burden globally and 91% deaths. Nigeria accounts for about 27% of this burden and 24% malaria deaths globally, leaving a severe socio and economic burden on households and the nation.
The representatives of WHO, Dr.
As a result of this, Reckitt, a leading consumer goods company, is collaborating with the Ogun State government to mark the World Malaria Day by creating awareness and upscaling action against the disease.
As a leading global insecticide brand, works on a mission to enable and empower our consumers with knowledge and expert solutions to rid themselves of vector-borne diseases such as malaria.
The State Commissioner for Health, Dr. Tomi Koka, who was represented by a permanent secretary in the ministry, Dr. Adesonya Ayinde, reiterates the commitment of the state government towards effective partnership with development partners to fight the disease.
The administration of Prince Abiodun has commenced renovation of 236 primary healthcare facilities with 42 already completed. The slogan, "Stand up, take action," is a call to action to everyone to take a stand and carry out specific roles.
The company also promises its numerous customers of quality products driven by its objective, which is to protect, heal, and nurture.
What we believe is our responsibility lies both in terms of making the products access to the people, at the same time making them aware.
Malaria is caused by the transfer of Plasmodium parasite from one person to another through mosquitoes, which makes it advisable for people to maintain good personal and environmental hygiene to reduce the scourge.
Well, that's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to Anne Wawado in Lagos for business news.
Thank you, Gloria. Hello and welcome to Business News. The Nigerian Electricity Regulatory Commission, NERC, has revealed plans to commence the process for the July 2021 minor review of the multi-year tariff order 2020, which is done every 6 months. According to the notice by NERC, the minor review will consider changes in inflation, foreign exchange, gas prices, and available generation capacity, as well as required capital expenditure needed in the evacuation and distribution of generation capacity. The electricity regulator also says that it will conclude the extraordinary tariff review process for the 11 electricity distribution companies in a bid to consider their respective 5-year performance improvement plans. The process is in line with their request for a review of capital expenditure proposed in the plans. Nigerian music artist David Adeleke, also known as Davido, has been signed on and unveiled as the brand ambassador for Viva Plus detergent powder and Vivs Plus laundry sanitizer detergent powder, one of Nigeria's leading detergent and multi-purpose soap brands. Aspira Nigeria Limited, makers of both products, say that the company and Davido share a lot of similarities, which inform the partnership, which they say will see a win-win situation for the brands and the consuming public.
It's a moderate-sized audience with select media men, guests, staff and management team of Aspira Nigeria Limited, the event hosts. As soon as the music sensation David Adeleke, popularly called Davido, and his 30 BG group make their way into the room, more essence is given to the gathering. Aspira Nigeria Limited and Davido Music World have agreed to a deal that will see the music artist become the brand ambassador for these two products of the company, Viva Plus laundry sanitizers and Viva Plus detergent powder.
We decided to sign on the prolific hit maker and the boss of Davido Music World because of his dynamism, popularity among Nigerian youths, and his hard-working disposition, which has put Nigeria on the global music map. He continues to inspire millions of Nigeria youths, and this is the consonance with the core value at Aspira.
We believe in supporting brands that are homegrown. We believe in contributing towards what we have here in terms of our economy, the Nigerian economy in particular.
I wouldn't be here if I didn't think this brand was new. It's new. It's a product that's going to be new to Nigerians. And as we know, right now we live in a society where the environment is very, very important. So it was just a no-brainer to me.
More light is shed on what the partnership portends for both brands and the Nigerian public.
With this period of COVID-19, we've been experiencing this for the past 1 year or getting to 2 years. So the company decided to say, okay, what can we do to help out the Nigerian government, the Nigerian people? So they choose to bring out the Viva Plus, which is the sanitizer, to help us to keep safe.
This Viva is basically, honestly speaking, it's a very tough stain remover, and it has multi-enzymes elements on it. So we are sure that if anybody using the Viva detergent, they can see the difference when we are already using other detergents. So it is already having all types of quality required to maintain our clothes.
According to Aspira, the two products being unveiled and the brand ambassador signals the beginning of more products and services that will follow in the near future.
It's a positive start today at the local equities market. Layo Adegoke has the numbers for us.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke. Just as predicted, the floor of the stock exchange was flooded with results as the Q1 2021 earnings season commences in full swing, sustaining last week's positive sentiments. Well, at the sound of the closing gong, the all-share index landed in the green, although marginally by 0.04% thanks to investors' interest in shares of Transcorp, Lafarge and insurance stocks. As a result, industrial goods and the insurance sector were the only gainers for the day, while the other sectors we track declined. Activity level was mostly positive as volume of shares traded rose by 14.8%, valued at 2.05 billion naira. The shares of Transcorp were the most sought after today as the stock gained 10%. Next on the list of top traders is FBN Holdings, followed by AXA Mansard. Analysts say the market is likely to close positive this week as decent earnings releases across the board are expected to temper selling activities stoked by the rising yields in the fixed income markets. Well, that's it on the Stock Market Report. I'm Layo Adegoke.
That's Business News Tonight. Thank you for watching. I'm Anne Nwawadu. It's back to you, Joma.
Thanks a lot, Anne. Still ahead on the news at 10, the European Union launches legal action against AstraZeneca for allegedly breaching their COVID-19 vaccine supply contract. Company vows to defend itself in court. Plus, other international news from our studios in London. Do join us again. Welcome back. The European Commission says it's suing drug company AstraZeneca for not respecting its vaccine supply contract and for not having a reliable plan to ensure timely deliveries. AstraZeneca says the move is without merit and it'll strongly defend itself in court. Here's Simon Pusey with more in Around the World in 5.
Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. India's COVID cases number has hit a record peak for the 5th day in a row, with infections rising by over 350,000 in the last 24 hours and crowded hospitals running out of oxygen supplies and beds. Earlier, Prime Minister Narendra Modi had urged all citizens to get vaccinated and exercise caution while hospitals and doctors put out urgent notices saying they were unable to cope with the rush of patients. India, with a population of 1.3 billion people, has recorded 17.31 million infections so far and 195,000 deaths, although health experts say the figures probably run higher than that. Russian prosecutors have frozen the activity of Alexei Navalny's regional group, pending a court ruling on whether to label them extremist. On Monday, a court met for a preliminary hearing in the Russian capital, Moscow, to consider a prosecutor's request to label Mr. Navalny's groups as extreme. Mr. Navalny is considered to be the main opponent of Vladimir Putin's government, who, according to the activist, poisoned him last summer. Prosecutors asked the court to prohibit the imprisoned Russian opposition leaders' groups from publishing anything online, organizing protests, and taking part in elections. The European Commission has said it had launched legal action against AstraZeneca for not respecting its contract for the supply of vaccines. Under the contract, the company had committed to making its best reasonable efforts to deliver 180 million vaccine doses to the EU in the second quarter of this year, for a total of 300 million in the period from December to June. But the company said in a statement in March it would aim to deliver only 1/3 of that. French energy giant Total has suspended operations at a site exploring a major gas field in northern Mozambique, weeks after Islamist militants attacked a nearby town. The company said that it was withdrawing all its staff because of the evolving security situation. Dozens of people were killed in the March raid in the town of Palma. Total's gas liquefaction plant is the largest foreign investment in Africa. Its Afunga site is near Palma, which has been repeatedly attacked by militants linked to the Islamic State group. Nazanin Zaghari Ratcliffe, a UK-Iranian national detained in Iran since 2016 over disputed espionage allegations, has been sentenced to another year in prison. Ms. Zaghari Ratcliffe was also banned from leaving the country for 1 year. In March, the aid worker was released from house arrest and had her ankle tag removed after her 5-year prison term expired, but she was unable to return to the UK to be reunited with her husband and young daughter, and was told to return to court on a new charge of propaganda against Iran. Britain's Labour Party opposition leader has said that Prime Minister Boris Johnson must explain a newspaper report that he said he would rather have bodies piled high in their thousands than a third lockdown. Mr. Johnson is facing a stream of allegations in newspapers about everything from his muddled initial handling of the COVID-19 crisis to questions over who financed the redecoration of his official apartment. According to the local media, Johnson would have expressed his views shortly after agreeing to a second lockdown in October.
I was astonished to see those words. It's for the Prime Minister, I think, now to make a public statement about that. If he did say those things, then he's got to explain it. If he didn't go on the record and publicly explain what was said and what wasn't.
A rare tiger that attacked a villager and damaged a car in northeast China was caught after an hours-long pursuit by police and forestry officials and will be held for 45 days for observation.
Cell phone footage shows it charging at the petrified woman, knocking her down.
A resident in the Heilongjiang region, which borders Russia, was sent to hospital for surgery and is in a stable condition after being attacked by the big cat. The wild Siberian tiger is a healthy male, aged 2 to 3 years and weighing 225 kilograms, according to local officials. The animal will be held for observation and quarantine purposes. And finally, the Kanye West sneakers that help turn athletic shoes into coveted fashion items have been acquired for a record-breaking $1.8 million. A sneaker investing platform called Rares has bought the shoes, which were the prototypes for the Yeezy line revealed by the rapper during his performance at the 2008 Grammy Awards. They've been sold at auction. The private sale at Sotheby's marked the highest publicly recorded price for a sneaker sale ever, nearly triple the current auction record for a sneaker set in 2020 at Christie's for a pair of autographed Nike Air Jordans. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel studios in Lagos.
Many thanks, Simon. AC Milan striker Zlatan Ibrahimovic is to be investigated by UEFA over an alleged financial interest in a betting company. According to reports in his native Sweden, the 39-year-old has broken rules after becoming a partner in a betting company. UEFA's disciplinary regulations state players should not have a financial interest in betting. And Thomas Tuchel believes his young Chelsea squad must be battle-ready against Spanish giants Real Madrid in the Champions League semi-final this week. The Blues have now reached the last 4 of Europe's elite competitions since 2014 and also have a squad that's stocked with new signings and academy players. And that's sports news.
Thanks a lot, Ayotunde. And the main news again. It is another day of mourning today as 2 more students abducted from the Greenfield University, Kaduna, were found dead near the institution 2 days after 3 others were killed by their abductors. That's the news at 10 tonight. Thanks so much for staying with us. I'm Ijoma Hunyato. Good night.